Ardnamurchan. Very buzzy distillery, has some hype around it. Young distillery, they've been there since 2014. They won Best New Distillery at the OSWAs, the Online Scotch Whisky Awards, last year, 2022. Today I have a bottle of Cask Strength, sherry matured Ardnamurchan. We're going to get into it right now. My whiskey journey has taken me to Scotland and back. I've explored whiskey education, tastings, and distilleries from Islay to Speyside. And now my journey continues here, with you, on Whiskey Whereabouts. So, Ardnamurchan, they are a Highland distillery. They are on the western coast of Scotland, and they have not been there for very long. July 25, 2014, they opened less than 10 years ago, but they already have a reputation for craft approach to whiskey, for a sort of modern sensibility, and for transparency. So what do I mean by modern sensibilities? Well, they're very green conscious. They have claims that they use all renewable, locally renewable sources for their power, for their heat. So they are presenting with a level of transparency not seen outside a compass box. On the back of the bottle, you have a QR code. You scan that with your phone. Gives you a link, you click right through into the website where a ton of information about the process of making this whiskey in this bottle. Everything from the farm in the field where the barley was sourced, to the mash water temperature, to the fermentation time, and on and on. The bottle is very simple. There's not a lot of wasted material here. Sort of coated in this outer sort of blue shell. They've cut a little window into the side where you can determine what the level of your bottle is, which is thoughtful. Ardnamurchan can be a little confusing because of the way the nomenclature is. So my bottle says AD 915 CK.632. It's what it means is that this was distilled in September 2015, and we know a lot about it based on that QR code, that transparency we're talking about. So this is bottle number 277 out of 327 bottles out of that Oloroso Hogshead. And it was bottled at Cask Strength at 59.8% ABV, no color added, no chill filtered. Obviously, we know some more details from linking through to the website, and I know that it was fermented for 76 hours, that the barley was concerto, that it was from a farm in West Fife, and on and on. So let's check it out on the nose. And the first thing I'm getting is 60% ABV, right? It's hot on the nose, it's there. Underneath that first impression, it's not a big wave of like big Isle of peat smoke. There's a toasty quality that's sort of a toasted biscuit, sort of barley note, and then it's sweet. Caramel, but bordering on candy corn almost, a confectionery, like candy sweet. The longer you stay with it, the deeper you go, the richer the notes are getting. Now I'm getting chocolate sweet. There's an earthiness to it. There's also a little oak sort of wood to it. Yeah, and at the bottom, it's almost like a metallic, kind of earthy soil note. Okay, so let's check it out on the palate now. It's hot. It's spicy, hot and spicy. The longer it's sort of on your palate, inside so your mouth and cheeks, it's tingly. It feels like if you hang on to it, it's just going to keep going with that quality. It doesn't really dissipate. So it's big. It's big 60% Cask Strength whiskey. It has a chocolate sweetness. So there's a little bit more substance to it, some deeper sweetness on the palate. And the longer you sit with it, you're getting more of that sherry influence. I'm getting cinnamon, orange. The longer it sits and airs out, the deeper the profile is, especially here on the palate, where you can kind of get underneath some of these big flavors. A dark fruit, juicy, sort of tart, not sour. All right, let's try the finish. Very consistent, spicy and hot, still very lively. There's a very nice sort of smoky cloud hanging around what I would describe as brandied, like soaked in brandy, cognac pear. And there is coffee grounds, sort of bitter, and what's left on the sort of end stages of the finish is that oak kind of wood bitter tingling and the residue of that sort of, now it's kind of dark chocolate. It's that sweetness along with the bitter, that sort of coffee ground. It's a lot more tart and bitter on the finish than the other two stages. I would say the finish is the sort of weakest link. Okay, so let's get serious. No one's going to sit and drink this whiskey out of a glass at full strength. So we're going to add some water here, and what's left of my tasting dram, I'm still going to put several good droplets here. Okay, so on the nose with the water, it's much less, it's less hot, but if you go all in on the glass and take a big sort of gulp inhale of air, it's still going to hit you. It's not shrinking away with the water. You're getting that alcohol bite. You're also getting less of that sort of sickly sweet. It's more chocolate. Yeah, I'm getting toffee now and sort of a candied apple. Coffee kind of bitter underneath. It's a little bit more subtle. Okay, so now the palate with the water. Yeah, so it is more manageable, but it's still very lively. It certainly hasn't been sort of washed away or shaved, smoothed out by the water. It's still big, it's still bold, a lot of spice. A lot of that sort of tingly spice is still here, the pepper spice. It has a little bit of cinnamon, and it has, what I think is some strawberry, like a sweeter, sort of riper fruit. Okay, so on the finish, big cinnamon, big red, you know, sweet cinnamon, nice smoky kind of quality. Yeah, what I'm sitting with now, with the water, less of the sort of bitter, it's there. The last bit of the finish before it fades, you've got that trail of that sort of coffee ground turning into that tannin oak bitter. But overall, it's more of that sort of coffee grounds, which isn't bad, especially balanced with some of the sweetness before it sort of transitions at the last sort of gasp of the finish into that more sort of bitter, that oak bitter. The finish is more, I would say almost more robust because it's sort of balanced everything out a little bit. I'm enjoying this finish a lot more with the water, and this is how you're going to have this, right? Okay, so where does that leave us with this bottle? This is a big, bold whiskey. It is a young whiskey. I said it was distilled in September 2015. It was bottled in May of 2021. It's less than 6 years old whiskey, and this bottle, if you can find it, should cost you about $95 or so for a 700 milliliter bottle, not a 750. So a little pricey for 6-year whiskey, but given the sort of craft presentation, the sort of limited amount of this that's out there, the hype around it, it is what it is, right? It's also a big sort of statement to release a big sort of bold cask strength whiskey like this. At this early stage in the process for this distillery, it's giving a lot of indication of big things to come, but we got to rate this bottle, not the ones that are going to be coming in the future. And it does come down to personal preference. This whiskey's hot, but it's cask strength. It doesn't bother me much. I've got water. I can sort of adjust that and sort of modulate it. Reacted well to the water during my tasting. Also, there's just something about a cask strength, sherry matured peated whiskey that is just, there's something special about it when it's done right. This is obviously a presentation that is done right. So for me, I think it's a little bit better than a 4-glass whiskey. I'm going to say 4 1/4 glasses on my cask strength, sherry matured Ardnamurchan. Have you had a chance to get your hands on any of the whiskey from this distillery? If so, let us know in the comments. In the meantime, I would love it if you'd subscribe. If you enjoyed this video, if you found it useful, use this button that's going to pop up over here. We're right on the precipice of reaching that 500 subscriber mark that I've been talking about on the channel. We've got something special planned for that, so you don't want to miss out. I will see you then.